Byles.
It's an honour and a privilege to be speaking in such an important or even a fundamental debate as this one is this evening. We've had some truly fascinating speeches on both sides. I personally am of the view that the weight of argument is firmly on the sides of those who do not support this bill, but we have heard some very interesting speeches across the board. It's particularly interesting, or should I say it's a particular honour to have sat next to the Honourable Member for Ealing and Acton, so what must have been a particularly difficult speech that she made. Mr. Speaker, the economy is struggling. Sorry, Madam Deputy Speaker. The economy is struggling. The Eurozone is tanking. The banks are in crisis. Syria is burning. And our constituents must be blinking in bewilderment at the time, effort and political energy that is being expended. With pleasure.
Gentlemen, how many speeches has he made in this House on those subjects, or is he just here to talk about House of Lords reform?
With the Honourable Member forgives me, this is an extremely important issue that I'm here to speak about. I speak regularly in this chamber on key events, and I intervene on others. And I am not one of those members who chops up on theyworkforyou.com short speeches and then judges themselves by the number of speeches they've made rather than the quality. Madam Deputy Speaker, as I said, our constituents are blinking in bewilderment at the time we are taking on this issue. However, discuss this issue we must.
OK, Mr McNeill, I've had enough. You keep interrupting everybody. This debate has been going on all day. I would ask you to sit there quietly and stop trying to disrupt other people's speeches. Mr Byles.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Discuss this issue we must. Most of us on this side of the House are of the view that we would rather not, but if we have to, it is something that must be discussed fully and must be discussed properly. This is a fundamental and irreversible constitutional change. This is not normal government business. And the idea that a change like this should be rammed through with the normal routine whipping and programme motioning is unthinkable, Madam Deputy Speaker. And this isn't about democracy. Too many people who support this bill seem to think that the word democracy is something that can simply be quoted and that shuts down debates. But that's not the case. Madam Deputy Speaker, I was a soldier for 9 years. I took the Queen's Commission, I served Her Majesty, and I was taught at the Royal Military Academy Sandhurst and the Royal College of Shrivenham to uphold and preserve democracy and the democratic rule of law, which I do. And I would challenge anybody in this chamber to tell me that I do not support democracy. That does not mean I must support this bill. The Honourable Member for Aldridge and Brownhills very eloquently described our complex and ancient constitution. The Honourable Member for Birkenhead also made a very, very passionate speech on the nature of the upper house and why it is that the upper house is a very specific and unique role in our constitution that does not automatically require that its members should be elected. In fact, I was rather hoping, Madam Deputy Speaker, that you might call me immediately after the Honourable Member for Birkenhead. I was tempted to stand up, say what he said, and sit down. My honourable friend, the member for Carlisle.
I want to hear from the honourable gentleman.
My honourable friend, the member for Carlisle, interestingly ran through a list of other parts of our system that are elected. I have the same list already written in my speech in order to make the opposite point, interestingly enough, which is that my constituents already have the opportunity to elect every level of government. They elect parish councillors, borough councillors, county councillors, members of parliament, MEPs. They elect their government when they elect their MP.
That's right.
That is our system. And if we move in an ill-thought-out way to a system where they also elect, in a manner of speaking, I'm not a big fan of list systems or PR, but they elect in a manner of speaking the other place as well, then which one of those is the government? How are they choosing their government? It is a system that will result in confusion and chaos. And it does seem to me, Madam Deputy Speaker, that people who want to impose, and this is being imposed because there's no suggestion at all that this will go to the people in a referendum, unlike, as has been made by numerous colleagues, the people of Coventry, who have been asked in a referendum whether they want an elected mayor, but apparently how the fundamental constitution of the country works is not suitable for a referendum. The people who want to make such fundamental change should at least come here to the House and explain what it is that the upper chamber is supposed to do, what it is about the current system that is failing to achieve that end, and what it is about this new proposal that will achieve that end better. because it seems to me, Madam Deputy Speaker, that this bill fails in what it sets out to achieve. It does not make the upper house more accountable. I won't repeat the arguments. The party list system, the 15-year terms, they will not be accountable. It doesn't end the Prime Minister's right of patronage. The ministerial members will be appointed by the Prime Minister, not by an independent appointments commission, by the Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister can appoint as many of them as he wants. As long as at the moment fewer than 6 of them are currently serving as ministers, he can appoint more. He can appoint 8 on day 1. If they all resign on day 2, he can appoint 8 more, and he can do that every day. So the power of parliamentary patronage is still there, which means, Madam Deputy Speaker, this is not an 80% elected chamber. If each Prime Minister only appoints 8 in each Parliament, and they are there for 3 parliaments, that is a 74% elected chamber. So let's call it what it is. That's ignoring, of course, the Lord Spiritual. With pleasure.
I'm very grateful to my honourable friend for giving way. Has he raised this topic specifically with the Department for Constitutional Affairs? Because I'd be very interesting to know what the answer was.
My honourable friend is being naughty because he knows I have. And he knows that in discussions with the Minister, actually there was some confusion in the Minister's office as to how many times the Prime Minister could appoint 8 ministerial members. At one point it was suggested that they could only appoint 8 per Parliament. But the noble Lord, I won't say who because I haven't asked his permission to, but there is a constitutional expert who I've discussed this with in the upper house who assures me that as it is currently written, there is no limit on the number of ministerial members that could be appointed. We've also heard at great length and with great eloquence the potential scope for constitutional deadlock and constitutional gridlock that this will bring about. Those who want us to give the other place more democratic legitimacy, as in their eyes, cannot then run away from the fact that the other place will want to use and exert that democratic legitimacy. And on the point of cost, I'm pleased that the Deputy Prime Minister is back, because I would just like to pick up the Deputy Prime Minister directly, if he's listening. He's not. I would like the Deputy Prime Minister to note that he was very naughty in his opening speech when discussing the potential cost of this, because he included in the potential cost of this reform the cost of reducing the size of this place. But of course the House will know that reducing the size of this place is an entirely separate piece of legislation that will obviously be on the statute books regardless of whether or not this particular bill gets put forward. So that particular reduction should actually form the benchmark or the baseline from which the costs of this bill are judged.
Very good.
Madam Deputy Speaker, I stood on a manifesto commitment to seek consensus on House of Lords reform. It is quite clear that that consensus has not been reached. When the Joint Committee, in an unprecedented move, issue a minority report signed by almost half of the committee, urging that a constitutional convention should be set up because this is too important to be left to this sort of grubby political horse trading, I believe that people should sit up and take notice. And that is why I cannot support this bill, and I certainly cannot support this programme motion.
Angela